Hello, everyone. Satsanga Astrology again. This time I'm back to talk about the Sagittarius solar eclipse that is upcoming Monday, pretty soon, in a couple of days. So I already published a video with the aspects and all the energies of the chart for the eclipse. I invite you to watch that video to have a general feel about what the eclipse is bringing, generally speaking. I also published in my daily social media shares the effect that the eclipse can have on your on the house where it falls on your chart, depending on the rising sign that you have. So I refer you to my social media in order to see those. In this video, though, what I'm going to show you is how the eclipse may affect your natal planets. And this is part of my upcoming course that I'm launching in January. I have a course, a basic astrological course teaching all the basics, including eclipses and the nodal axis and all that. And that's something exclusive. Not all the astrologers talk or teach about the eclipses or the nodes of the moon. So I invite you to I want to share my screen with you. I invite you to explore if you are interested in learning astrology, the basic, even if you already have some idea of astrology. I think I go very, very deep as usual on every subject, so you can benefit from this course very much. So if you are interested, then I have here my email. You can contact me by email requesting this information. And you can also visit my blog at blogspot.com. So you can click on, there is at the top page, there is a tab called How I Work and What I Offer. You click on that and you get a page where you have all the information about my personal readings that I offer, the pricing, and the courses. So I encourage you to explore that or contact me with questions about it. And I hope to see you there. Meanwhile, I will talk about then in general about what is an eclipse in order to make an introduction about this particular eclipse. And as I said, if you'd like to know what the aspects this eclipse in Sagittarius makes and all the energy that is bringing, I invite you to watch the other. I will put the link in the description box below, so you can watch that to have a more specific idea. As I said, here I will talk more about how the eclipse affects your natal planets, all of them. And you'll see this is an excerpt of my course and how I teach you. You will see how deep I go in the teaching. Okay, let's get started with the definition of the eclipse. So eclipses happen only when the moon and the sun, the moon is near or close to the nodes of the moon. And what are the nodes of the moon? They are the intersection of the orbit of the moon with the ecliptic, or the orbit of the sun, the moon, the Earth around the sun. So here you have, in this illustration, you have the ascendant intersection when, because there is a little declination of 5 degrees, then the ascendant will be the north node, and in Eastern traditional astrology, they call it Rahu, or the dragon's caputis, and or the head of the dragon. And the descendant intersection will be the south node of the moon, and it's associated with Ketu, or the tail of the dragon. That's when the eclipses happen, when the moon is about from 0 conjunction, the intersection, to 18 degrees both sides. So it depends on how far from the node the moon is, the nature of the eclipse. It could be partial, it could be total, it could be annular, depending on the distance the moon is from the Earth, because sometimes is in the aphelion, or far from the Earth, and the perigee when it's close to the Earth. So I think that's for the definition of the eclipse. What is the solar eclipse, which is the case of the Sagittarius eclipse on Monday? So it is the interrupted conjunction of the sun and the moon. And when the sun and the moon get together, it's like mother and father getting together and bringing up a new life. So that's the symbolic image. So the merging is the conjunction, or the merging between the consciousness and unconsciousness, right? The sun is our consciousness, and the moon is our unconscious or psychic. So it's also the union of the projective yang energy with the receptive or yin energy. So, and from that, it starts a new cycle. And it's a moment of low energy, right? It's like when you plant a seed underground and it's winter, for example, and it's dark. So it seems like the energy is not there. It is all contained in that seed. So there is an initiation of something that relates or is to the attention of the affairs of the house where the eclipse falls in your natal chart. So it is also a time to prepare for the ground for example, make plans to launch new projects or start something new. Or a new stage in life, or something that is completely new. So especially if you are in that process of starting something new, wait about 3 days after the eclipse. And even for eclipses, it's better to wait until it is out of the range of the eclipse season, which is after the full moon. That in that case will be December 29th, the full moon in Cancer. So you will have a sense of renewal, rejuvenation, and setting things in motion, right? Starting something. So that's about the solar eclipse. And in general, what do they mean? Having eclipses, this time, for example, you can relate this eclipse to another similar eclipses that happened in 9 years ago, or 18 and a half years ago, and you can revisit those years and find out what the themes were. It doesn't mean that the same events will repeat. It doesn't. They don't repeat. But what happens is that eclipses come in cycles, and it's not circular cycles. You know, the solar system with the sun is traveling around the galactic center, right? Through the galaxy, and the planets follow the sun in a spiral motion around it. And it is a shape similar to the DNA, for example, going around and around and around. And so that's why the themes do not repeat, but the themes may be you go to a step up or an upgrade of that theme or that lesson that you are learning. You will see when I talk about the planets affected by the eclipse that they have different themes. And you can see, for example, when you were 9 years old, for example, the theme was according to your stage of life at 9 years old. But then when you turn 18, the same theme was upgraded to the circumstances of youth, right? So, and so on. As you progress in life, those themes will be evolving as you are evolving, and operating the maturation and the evolution of your soul. That's why, as I said, the events never repeat, but they have a similar taste to them. So the eclipses lead your life journey, meaning that they're powerful markers in the path of your destiny. And they run clockwise through your chart, and they repeat over time. As I said, every 9 years they repeat reversed, and every 18 years they repeat in the same positions. So their effect can last a long time, even overlapping the effects of previous eclipses. And the rule of thumb is about 1 year, but some of the eclipses are more powerful, like the one in the summer of 2017. It had a scope or range of effect for 3 years, and we have seen the effects of it over time, right, up until now. So it is, though, more intensely felt when the eclipse makes a hard aspect to a natal planet, like, for example, conjunction, opposition, or square. But the orb is limited. So I use 3-degree orb, but you can go to a maximum of 5 degrees. Even that is too much. It operates the cleansing and revitalizing of your life. It is a forerunner of change, and also to rebalance the affairs of the house where it falls. It is really unpredictable, as Rahu and Ketu are, but they bring a spiritual process that, as I said, affects the soul evolution and your progress. Okay, let's see now the eclipse on the south node. That is different from an eclipse on the north node, because the south node is an outlet to release old energy. It's like having a drain, right? The drain of your house, where the waste and the water, the used water, goes out, because you don't need that anymore. So that is the same. The South Node acts as the drain for forces and things in your life that are outgrown. And so they are taken out by the South Node. The energy of a South Node eclipse is compared to Saturn or Neptune dynamics, where there is dissolution, restrictions and difficulties, losses, and also lack of vitality. So usually the person will perceive it as a negative or detrimental. As I said, losses can come. So it is also an end of a cycle and preparation for a new phase in your life. It demands the release and detachment, surrender. May cause identity crisis because, after all, it's the sun, right? And a solar eclipse is the sun that is eclipsed. So there is some letting go of some part of the ego. So the solar eclipse with the South Node then demands to surrender something, or even a person in our lives, someone, in order to begin this new phase, this new growth period. So general considerations for a solar eclipse in the South Node of the moon can affect the house and the planet where it falls, right? You need to see which house is that eclipse touching, and also if there is any planet affected by it, as I said, conjunction, opposition, or squares. It could be a waxing square or waning square. Those are different energies as well. So there are many things to consider, you know. The sign and house polarity as well is important because the eclipse is reflecting on the polarity. For example, this eclipse is in Sagittarius, but is projecting or reflecting on Gemini, and that will be the house location as well for you. So you can also consider affected the houses ruled by the sun and the moon, meaning the houses containing the signs of Leo and Cancer. So the eclipses are stronger even if they fall on the angles ascendant, descendant, or midheaven or IC. So if it falls in one of those, it means that it will trigger all four angles of the house. So if you have it in your IC, it will affect your public life or professional life. It will also affect your own personality, your health, your body, and it will affect your partner if you have one, or the way you relate to other people. So the angles are very, very powerful. If the eclipse falls in one of your angles, it's like having the eclipse on the four angles. So if the planet is retrograde, if your natal planet is retrograde, then it will be more reflective. It will require more effort in order to obtain the results, and the learning, the lesson that you're learning may be harder. It may take more time as well because the planet is retrograde. So as I said, there are many things that to be considered when you study an eclipse. For example, later on, when other planets are transiting this point, in this case, the 23 degrees 8 minutes of Sagittarius, either by conjunction, square, or opposition, the planet will again activate the event or the circumstances that happened during the eclipse. So it's not that simple to look at the eclipse and say, oh, this will happen. It's not that simple. So now I will focus on studying the eclipse on your and on every planet, every natal planet, starting with the sun and how the eclipse will affect your sun. Remember that you will also see the Leo house will be affected as well, because the sun rules Leo. So if the sun is receiving some energy from the eclipse, then the house of Leo will have changes as well. So first of all, the main thing that you will feel is low energy, vitality, or stamina. So, and it could generate an identity crisis because the sun is your core essence or your identity. So you may need to reconsider your creativity, the way you enjoy things in life. There could be reflections about your children, for example. You may have a certain level of loss of authority, for example, because as I said, the draining property of the south node, you may even separate from authority figures. Your father, for example, may not support you anymore, or it might need that, for example, you move out of the house and then you are separated from your father and you are independent. Or your father stops sending you money, for example. Things, sometimes the effects are very literal, and sometimes they are very simple. Other times, not so. But it might be also loss of opportunities. It might mean that you go kind of backstage, that you don't show up so much in the world, that you become out of the scene, the main scene, and play a secondary role, right? You can also feel a diminished sense of ego, and for example, you lack self-attention, or I said loss of opportunities. What else? I think I mentioned everything. Regarding your health, the parts of the body that the sun rules are the heart and the upper back. So a person may have, for example, pain on the upper back. Some people are concerned about their posture, for example, which that would be the upper back. As I said, it doesn't need necessarily to be tragic or dramatic. It could be simple as that. So don't look for changes that will kill you, right? Because that's not the case most of the time. But in some cases, and it may be from a person who suffers from heart problems, it may the heart may be vulnerable at the time of the eclipse. So as I said, it depends on your personal circumstances. So but these are just hints to give you to think about and identify what the energy is all about. So now, how about if the eclipse falls on your moon? And again, remember, it's just 3 degrees orb. So if it is 23 degrees the eclipse, then you will look for 20 20 degrees to 26, no more than that. So there could be changes in the family or domestic situation. For example, you may move houses, right? Or separations from your mother. You can move out and leave your mother behind. Or your mother may move away, right? There could be also issues related to motherhood, that you're changing something about the way you parent your children if you are a mother. So there could also be a decrease in the inner sense of security. You may feel nostalgic and fearful, and have fearful memories as well. Remember, on the moon, and all the eclipses are very emotional. So you cannot avoid the emotional content and intensity of the eclipse. But for a person whose moon is aspected, then it will be more so. So you may become more emotionally introspective, or unable to express your emotions, for example. Also, the moon represents popularity and how people accept you in general, especially in public. For example, if you are in social media, very active, you may experience loss of popularity. And the regions of the body that are affected is the stomach, and it could be an upset or sensitivity that is temporary, right? So your digestion may suffer. Okay, so that is for the moon. And now, how about Mercury? And Mercury is sitting here. So it is like, okay, let me rethink things. So there's a challenge or change of ideas with the eclipse on Mercury. There could be issues with negotiations or contracts. And also, you may start reconsidering your beliefs, opinions. Beliefs, I say also because Jupiter, no, Sagittarius is the house of belief systems. And it could be any kind of beliefs. It could be religious, political, philosophical, ideological, any kind of beliefs for anything, in fact. And those opinions of yours could be tested. So it will be a lot of intellectual questioning. So it could be a crisis in beliefs. And it could also be that you become misunderstood, or you cannot express your ideas properly, and that you have distorted perceptions of the environment and reality, and also distorted memories, because of the moon, right, that is eclipsing. And also, if you have any skills that are very specific kind of skills, you may have low efficiency in writing, reading, for example, in focusing. Maybe it will be hard for you to focus when you read or study or pass an exam. So if you have a test to pass on Monday, avoid it and try to postpone it to another day. In fact, it's not a good day to start anything new or to do something important. It's better to find time for reflection and meditation and introspection, especially if your Mercury is affected. So if you have plans, they don't go very well. Siblings or neighbors may be affected, and even the environment that you frequent every day. There might be changes in your environment, and the parts of the body that might be affected, especially if you are vulnerable. It could be the lungs and the small intestine. It could be issues that appear. As I said, they don't need to be permanent. They might be temporary, and just because of the eclipse that is affected. So that's for Mercury. So if the eclipse falls on your Venus, okay, so Venus is your values, right? Your desires, the way you relate to other people harmoniously. Venus is your material comfort and your possessions, the things that make you happy, and the way you see beauty, right? All those themes will be in decrease mode or re-evaluation. So you may change your desires and values and the way you love other people. And even if you love someone, that love may be adjusted for some reason. You may start a new period in your love life. It could be that you get engaged, that you decide, okay, now is the time to go one step higher with this relationship. But some things in that, because of the South Node eclipse, there are some sacrifices to make. Usually either voluntarily or forced sacrifices. Sometimes it could be loss of fortune or financial affairs, or just that you lose money in the streets, right? You have $20, $20 bill, and you lose it. It could be simple like that. So there is also a loss of comfort or possessions. It could be that you are in no mood for celebrations, for example, or to be social. You don't want to be among other people celebrating and having a party, right? And you also may have mixed feelings about people, or other people may misunderstand your feelings. You may have lack of benevolence or lack of harmony, this feeling of uneasiness around other people that you were usually very comfortable with. So at this point, you may also reconsider relationships, certain relationships, not all of them, but some of the relationships that were not working well, for example, they will fade away, or you may decide to change them. So you will have a different appreciation of beauty. Things that you considered, for example, very beautiful before, they might not look the same. If you have a lover and you, for example, and you adore his or her eyes because they are blue crystalline eyes, and then, well, with the eclipse, that appreciation of yours may change. Maybe you appreciate them more or less. So that's Venus. You may also have to put off buying gifts, for example, or renounce to receive a gift. So the other things that you might experience is that you don't feel desirable, for example, in intimacy and intimate relationships, or that you don't feel attractive anymore, that there is something that you want to change in order to feel beautiful, right? The areas of the body that could be affected, not necessarily, but that could be affected are the pancreas, the spleen, the throat, the thyroid, the jaw, and the kidneys. So as I said, you won't experience all of this. These are hints that you may consider in order to interpret what is going on in your life and what will come with the eclipse. So you probably are the best person to understand your own chart and how the eclipse may or may not influence you. And it also depends on the context of your circumstances, and it depends on the level of your spiritual development, your psychological awareness, and how the level of consciousness with which you face life, for example. So there are many factors on the influence of the cosmic bodies on your the energy of the cosmos on your personal life. Okay, so let's go to Mars now. So Mars eclipse under the eclipse on the south node will definitely affect the level of your energy. The Mars represents your energy to work, your willpower, your decision, your initiative, right? And how you tackle your activities or whatever you do, your work, for example. So it could be a crisis of confidence or a crisis of autonomy. You may need, for example, to concede or to compromise in order to level things with someone else. It could be a loss of independence. Your work may become ineffective because of this misplaced energy, or misuse of energy. So other things that may happen is that sometimes we have a lot of energy and we are unable to use it efficiently. So what happens is that your body gets backfired to your body, and you may get inflammations, or you may get sick, or some health problem may be aggravated. So it is important to channel this energy in a way that is productive, but there are also propensity to accidents because of this awkward dynamic in your willpower or your the way you initiate action. So it might be that it is out of time, for example, that you're working and you're doing things either too late or too early. So that might affect the results in your work. So for example, when you do physical activity, either at work or in your exercise program or any kind of physical activity, you might need to put extra effort because of this need to adjust your managing of your force, your energy, or your willpower. So there is also, for example, it could be doubts about your sexual potency, and it could generate psychological aggressiveness that you need to contain. So it is this awkward management of your energy that can leave, for example, unresolved the conflicts that you are not able, it may trigger a conflict, but you may not able to solve it. and you may get aggressive, for example, instead of using the energy in order to solve the problem. So and you may get a lot of stimulation or feeling energized to start something, but at the same time, because of the south node, you're not able to start it, so you are in this neutral, gear, that you have the potential to do it, but you are not able to get it started. And as I said, you may need to compromise to something or someone that you normally wouldn't. So, for example, concede or accept something that you normally wouldn't be able to. You might need to do it. And another thing is that I think it will be useful is to work independently in order to become more aware of your own level and state of energy and, and how you manage it. As I said, you need to be careful because you can experience accidents. So eclipses are not a good time, even lunar eclipses, even more for lunar eclipses. But eclipses, for example, with the south node, you lack the energy needed in order to do physical activity. So that means that if you do, you may have an accident, or you may torn a muscle, or have a small maladjustment in your body. So in order to achieve the goal that you set for yourself, you need to manage that energy in a very methodical way. So try to slow down. That will be good. The parts of the body that are affected in this case is the head, up until this part of the head. So if you have an accident, it will certainly involve the head. So be careful managing your energy. And you probably won't feel like exercising for some time during this period of time, during the eclipse period. As I said, because during the full moon eclipse or lunar eclipse, you will have a lot of energy, but also if it is affecting Mars, then you won't be able to manage it well. And that's the propensity to have accidents and to even have conflicts, right? Aggression, violence. Very well. Here we see Don Quixote. To me, he was the frustrated warrior, right? Because he went out to the world trying to fight for good causes, but in fact, he couldn't do much, right? So I think that is a good representation of an eclipsed Mars. Okay, so how about Jupiter? So with Jupiter, you can have a change of luck or loss of abundance, and also you may change your footing on beliefs, on prosperity. You may become increasingly aware of past knowledge or past beliefs and understand that they don't work for you anymore. So there could be bad judgments or incorrect judgment or appreciation of something. If you have a dispute, it might be legal disputes. Usually they are related to close associations. You may question or review long-held beliefs. For example, it could be, as I said, any kind of beliefs. Could be religious or spiritual or political. It could be ideological, philosophical, or I don't know, maybe you always believe that certain food was good for you. Suppose that is the second house. Then all of a sudden you realize, oh no, this food is bad for me, right? So there is a re-exploration of the world, or the worldview, or your cultural view, and even your spiritual view. So there could be increase in expenses, because Jupiter is associated with good fortune and good luck. So it may be that you need to leave something behind in order to step up to the next soul development level. Also, it may mean that you need to restrain overindulgence. For example, if you used to eat a lot of chocolate, right, and you love chocolate, and then this eclipse comes, and then you realize that you can't do that anymore for whatever reason. So that's for Jupiter, and Jupiter rules the liver, the thighs, the sciatic nerve. Sometimes the astrology is so literal that you may actually have something related to the thighs, for example, or you may wake up with sciatica. So sometimes it is very, very literal. So let's move on to Saturn, the good old master Saturn. So he is the hard teacher, right? Very, very disciplining teacher that wants us to face reality and be mature and become an adult. So sometimes he is really hard with us. So an eclipse on your natal Saturn, you may look back and assume a past responsibility. You may go back to a responsibility that you had before, and you might need to take it back and try again in order to develop that level of responsibility that Saturn requires of you, especially if Saturn is retrograde in your birth chart. So it requires a sober, mature, disciplined attitude. The life can turn very, very serious, and there might be a lesson to learn, and it depends on your level of maturity and your level of acceptance of restrictions and limitations and regulations and constraints. It depends on that, how much you feel or not feel comfortable with this eclipse on Saturn. But it definitely relates to learning discipline, becoming an adult, and accepting restrictions, and leaving behind some responsibilities as well, right? But at the same time, for example, if you have a grandma or grandpa or even an elderly parent, you may need to pay more attention to that person. So the eclipse may concern your status or your professional life, your career, or your public reputation, or your civil status. So, for example, it may concern if you are married and you become divorced, or widower or widow, or if you're single and you become married, right? So there could be changes in your civil status. So it could bring some level of fears and pessimism, depression, discouragement. So you may also be susceptible to bone and teeth problems. For example, and this may happen in general to people who really didn't care about their teeth, or didn't care about their health. Usually when the eclipse is on one of the planets and you suffer from that health problem related to that planet, is because you haven't been paying attention. And then the eclipse comes and you receive the lesson that you need to learn about that. But if you have been brushing your teeth all the time and being very careful, going to the dentist every year or every 6 months or whatever, that will not be your problem, right? So usually that's what happens. It follows the natural flow of life. It's not something that comes out of the blue, like you never expected. Looking back, for example, something happens with the eclipse and you look back and you see, oh, I knew that. And I knew that that could come, right? It can also bring back to your life a teacher or an authority figure from the past that comes to guide you and show you something important that you need to learn. It's also about making or losing long-lasting relationships. For example, if you meet such a person for the first time, it will be a relationship that will be long-lasting. The health of an elderly person may be in the play, but in general, what happens with the eclipse on Saturn is that there is a life lesson that is coming to you. You need to learn something. And that learning will be related to the house where Saturn is located, but it will be also related to the houses that it rules, Capricorn and Aquarius, right? Because Saturn is the traditional ruler of Aquarius as well. Okay, so now we are out to study the outer planets. So the outer planets are planets that are more, how do I say this? They're more affecting the society in general because they take such a long time going around the sun that they affect a whole generation. Although they may have personal implications. I mean, those changes that are outside in society will affect directly you personally, but they also are more reflect more the subconscious or unconscious conditionings that we have, and maybe they may affect you physically or not, or psychologically, for example. But as I said, those are influences that come from outside in general for the whole collective. And of course, it will affect you personally depending on the house where they are located, the sign, and also the house and sign they rule. For example, let's take Chiron. Chiron takes 51 years to go around the zodiac. And depending on what sign and house it is located in your birth chart, it is the different wounding that you may have. So once the eclipse on the south node is on Chiron, your native Chiron, you are to reconsider the perception of the wound, your personal perception of how the wound affects you. So it might, the eclipse might bring to your awareness that for example, that woundedness is for some level of healing, for example. And it might hurt first and then in order to heal. That's the way Chiron works. Chiron rules the sign of Virgo, is the modern ruler of the sign of Virgo. So you may look also at the house occupied by Virgo for the influence. So there could be a revival of previous wounding, and in order for you to bring it to your attention, in order for you to do something for healing. So it will be a new opportunity to heal using old methods, and especially alternative healing methods. So, for example, it could be, since this is a solar eclipse, it could be finding new treatment if your wounding is very physical. Or if it is psychological, for example, it could be a new psychological treatment, or finding a new psychologist, or a new methodology that you try something new. Also, you may have strong and lasting emotional reactions to your wound. And that means that the wound is brought to your attention, right? It hurts, so you need to pay attention and do something about it. So it triggers attention and healing, and the need for you to do the healing, right? And that's how Chiron operates. Okay, so let's move to Uranus. Uranus is drastic, unexpected, but necessary changes, innovation in society, right? For example, a new technology that comes in the collective, or science finding, or something that affects you personally. For example, we have a new vaccine, and that is very innovative because the kind of vaccine it is an experimental, and it's a new experiment on the way to make vaccines, since it doesn't involve the dead agent, it is a different method. So, and that collective technology is affecting you personally, because you will receive that vaccine probably, or not. And that may be part of the eclipse influence on you. Meaning that was just an example. I mean, it could be internet. For example, when the internet was introduced, right? That was a new technology. An original thing, right? And it obviously affects you personally in certain ways that are maybe different from other people. So there is also, it could be loss of independence, liberation from certain dependencies. For example, it could be the opportunity to start a new stage in life where you say, okay, I leave this relationship that is codependent, and I am liberated from it, right? It depends where Uranus is located. If it is in the 7th house, for example, that will influence your relationships. And that you can go to my daily posting on social media. I put all the houses for each rising sign. Okay, so it could be also an upgrade in social conditionings, right? As society evolves, there are innovations introduced, and we need to upgrade with the trends of society. So, and that could imply changes that you need to do personal in order to adjust or adapt to those changes, drastic changes. Things that, for example, with Uranus and Taurus, it could be the economy, the financial market, the banking system. And that is a social innovation, right? But it affects you personally in some way. So it may be also an encounter with an unreliable person, and development of a relationship that may not last for a long time, but it will be very significant in your life. I mean, you see the illustration of Uranus with the lighting bolt. Changes that Uranus brings to your life are very significant, something that you will never forget, certainly, because it's like having that shock that makes you, it brands it on your soul so badly, so strongly, that you won't forget. But that person may come to your life, bring that radical change, and then leave, right? Or it may be someone who comes back to your life, or you come back to the life of someone else. So the part of the body that affects Uranus are the shins, the nervous system especially, and it could be manifested in allergies or asthma attacks, because they come, it rules the absorption of oxygen. So it might be that you're all of a sudden you have a tight chest, or you feel very nervous and anxiety, you feel anxiety, or sometimes it could be an anxiety attack, as I said, astrology can be very very literal in the way that it shows up in your life. So I would be curious if you would make comments in the below the video and tell me, for example, things that happened in the past with eclipses. Conjuncting or aspecting one of your natal planets. I would be curious to learn more about how it can manifest. So with Uranus, there's always a level of excitement and unexpected or all of the sudden events that may bring changes, radical changes, or insights, right? Okay, let's go to Neptune. Neptune, it's more subtle. The influence is more subtle, and that's why it may be treacherous, right? Because with Neptune and Pluto, we don't see them coming. Their influence is very subtle and very quiet. You may feel more inclined to spirituality. This is a double whammy because the South Node is very spiritual. And you may come back to previous religious beliefs, for example, or spiritual practices that you used to do before. Or you may take a vacation in a faraway place, right? Or take a retreat, or want to be in a retreat, or decide that you're going to be in isolation because I don't know, you have COVID, for example, and then you need to isolate. Or that you want to be in the hospital for a charitable project that you were subscribed in the past, and you want to go back and help. So charitable activities that you used to be doing before, and hopefully you don't need to go to the hospital yourself for an illness, but that's also a possibility if the circumstances in your life show that is the case, right? And also your dream life will be, you will have very vivid dreams and you will remember them. I advise you to have a notebook or your journal by the bed on your nightstand, so you can jot and write about your dreams, because they may be very revealing and helpful in fact. So with an eclipse, south node eclipse on Neptune, it would be a good opportunity to let go of self-sabotaging behavior like addictions, self-undoing attitudes, like saying, oh, I'm not good enough. So you may leave behind things that you know for sure that are not working for you anymore. So there could bring a certain level of uncertainty and confusion. Your mind may be in fog, and you may have a hard time to gather the information that you need in order to solve problems. And you run the risk of deception, either you being the deceptive person or being the victim of deception. So be careful, because you may be vulnerable to scams and swindle. In the part of the body that is affected are the feet, right? But also the lymphatic system and the immune system. So pay attention to those if those issues come up in that case. So also you may have a hard time trusting your own judgment, unfortunately, because you may be confused, and you may not know what is true, what is not. So an advice would be doing doing things there are associated with Neptune and Pisces, for example, meditation, time alone, a lot of sleeping. It will be good for you, because Neptune rules sleep, and you may need to sleep more. You may need to rest. You may feel tired, very drained, and pay attention to those symptoms, because if you don't give your body enough rest, you may get sick, right? Especially considering that this eclipse conjuncting or aspecting Neptune in your chart will be affecting your your defenses, right? Okay, and last but not least, it is Pluto. So Pluto is a very powerful influence in our lives, and It is the deepest desires of our soul, and the focus of our psychological development. So an eclipse on Pluto, it is very, very powerful and transformational. And the changes that Pluto bring are permanent. And remember, he works very slowly. And because of that, the changes that it brings are very deeply imprinted and ingrained in our soul. So it might work unnoticed, but it's very, very powerful. So if you have an eclipse on Pluto, there is a destruction of some aspect of your life. He will be destroying, demolishing something that and corrupting something that or revealing something that is corrupted in your life, that is corrupted in the sense that is decayed, that it that is dead. It's like when you have a scar and you have that dead tissue, and after the healing takes place, then the scar needs to fall away, and that's the work of Pluto, right? It brings a healing, but you need to sacrifice, let go of something that is completely dead. Sometimes we grasp and with strong grip to things that we want so badly, but they're so bad for us, right? Like obsessions and obsessive compulsive attitudes, behaviors, and thinking. So there is a healing process in this case, and it will promote self-improvement, and you will have strong efforts applied to that area where Pluto is, but also to the house occupied by Scorpio. So the shared finances, for example, may experience a downturn. You may experience power struggles, trust issues, especially in intimacy, right? When you share sexual relationships with your partner, or even financial assets with your business partner, for example. So and Pluto brings out issues of trust and vulnerability as well. So you may feel more vulnerable during this eclipse, and some issues that make you vulnerable may come up, so you can heal and learn emotional security, and to be able to be the master of your own security, right? Sometimes there are codependent relationships that are challenged with this eclipse on Pluto. For example, relationships that have manipulation and jealousy and those base feelings may be for a change, for a profound change, even ending, right? Pluto rules endings as well as Neptune, right? But they end things in a different way. Neptune dissolves, Pluto decomposes and dismantled. Pluto disarmed. He rots things to a point where they're not. It's not possible anymore. But what happens with compost, for example, Compost is the decomposition of organic matter, and it gives life, it gives new life. So it is important to use the Pluto lessons in order to give life to a new stage. So physically, there could be sexual frustration, impotence, frigidity, and also it rules the colon. So it might be problems with the colon or blockages, for example, constipation. That could be. Uh, and problems with the reproductive organs. Um, so hopefully not, but as I said, an eclipse can bring many things related to the themes the planet rules. So these are my references. If you're interested in reading more about what I presented, these are the references that I used. And this is the end of the show. I hope this is useful. And as I said, this will be part of my astrology, basic astrology course that I am presenting, launching in the month of January. So if you like to be part of it, please email me, and I'll give you all the information with the syllabus and how the course will be structured and everything. So I hope this was useful and that you have a good eclipse, and that you're able to use this energy for your benefit and the benefits of your family members and people around you. So I wish you the best. Again, if you like to see the houses, go to my Facebook. You will find by rising sign, you will find the houses, how the eclipse affects your house, right? Okay, so wish you the best. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.